I also make sure that I'm completely satisfied with my art and my projects before showing it to anyone else. I like making my work seem a bit energetic, so I hope that comes across when people look at it.
And what's one of the worst things you heard as an artist?
Well, a common thing that I hear is when people ask me what I'm doing or what I'm studying, and I say fine art, a lot of people say, oh, you should do that as a hobby or do that as something on the side, which I get where they're coming from, but it's always discouraging when you tell people that that's what you're studying and that's what they say. So it's it seems like it's not a good enough career choice for them. So I guess that's the worst thing I've heard so far.
Hi Ashanti, welcome to the canvas. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. So now Ashanti, let's get straight to the point. Describe yourself as a person.
Okay, so I am 21 years old and I'm currently in my third year at uni. So I'm studying fine arts and psychology, and for fine arts I major in painting and printmaking. And yeah, I grew up in Sri Lanka and moved to Australia around 2.5 years ago.
So how was the shift moving there?
It was quite hard at the start, and then I slowly got used to it and started enjoying living here. But then once COVID hit, it got hard again. But then just got used to it as time went by.
Great. So now Heshanthi, I want to know 3 words that can describe you, 3 characteristics.
I like to think that I'm quite ambitious because if I'm given a task or any project to do, I try to complete it to the best of my abilities. I will not be satisfied until I'm completely happy with that end product. I also feel like I'm quite adventurous. I love exploring new places and going on walks or just being in nature really. And I'm also quite inquisitive. I tend to ask a lot of questions and I'm quite curious, especially in terms of my art and experimenting with my art.
So do you think this comes in your art itself, like you mentioned, all these 3 aspects? Is it shown clearly? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Because since I love being in nature, I feel like a common theme in my artwork tends to be related to nature. And I also make sure that I'm completely satisfied with my art and my projects before showing it to anyone else.
Definitely. Now, Heshanthi, so what do you do? You're a student, I heard. So talk to us more. What are you studying?
I'm studying fine arts. So in fine arts, we can major in any kind of art form that we like. So I decided to choose painting and printmaking. So I really like painting because that's what I've been doing since I was young. So I just wanted to continue that. But I decided to choose printmaking as well because it was something new, and since I was young I'd never been exposed to it. So I thought that it would be great to kind of use the resources at our uni and kind of learn a new skill. And I also do psychology. So for that we just learn about, it can be developmental psychology or social psychology, so different types of that, which is interesting.
That is actually very interesting. So once you're studying psychology, do you think even that can also come in your art, somehow integrate into it, in your art?
Yeah, in some ways I feel like that does show, especially for example I tend to use very bright colors, so I like making my work seem a bit energetic, so I hope that comes across when people look at it.
So now talk to us about your style, because I think you mentioned to me earlier that you're an artist who likes to experiment with different types of mediums. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, so I feel like my style is still evolving because, as you mentioned, I do like to experiment with a lot of different forms of art. So I do paintings and I do digital work as well. Sometimes I go into sculpture or even installations. So right now I really like that opportunity to kind of explore and see what I like about the different forms, because they all help convey a different meaning when I do my art. So that's what I've been enjoying so far. Yeah.
Definitely. And now talk to us about your favorite piece, because I've seen your work. So I want to ask you, like, what is your piece that, you find it very personal and you feel like this is one of my best pieces. It's very special to me.
Um, I feel like I really like this piece that I did last year, which was called 3 Marks of Existence, and I did it for a uni project. And I feel like more than it being personal, I really went out of my comfort zone in terms of using materials that I don't usually use. So for this piece, it was about impermanence and trying to get that concept across about how nothing really lasts forever. So I used leaves in this project because it is an ephemeral material that decays over time. So when I hang up this art piece, it will too disintegrate over time. So that kind of activates the work as well, and shows that that the artwork is impermanent as well. So that really opened me up to use like the possibility of using other materials such as leaves or anything really to paint on.
Wow, that's actually very interesting, because a lot of times people think that art is just usually something on the canvas, but it's something you actually like. I felt like this is something more personal and you can interact with, because it's a
Yes.
process. Like you said, it's something that won't last for a while.
Another piece that I really like working on was this piece to do with like the elephant human conflict. So recently I've been seeing a lot of news articles and things about animal cruelty, and that really like got to me. And I kind of used this image that I saw online of elephants roaming around in a garbage dump, and that inspired me to kind of work on this piece, using garbage that I collect on my own, like that I'm basically throwing away. So I used plastic bags to kind of paint this scene of elephants roaming around in garbage, and stitched in like things I would throw away, like food wrappers or even the straps from like masks that we use, and yeah, bottle caps, and basically just things I were gonna that I would throw away. So
And yes, I definitely love that piece you mentioned, as the message is definitely loud and clear. So now I want to know, like, who inspired you to like maybe be an artist, or what inspired you? It doesn't actually have to always be a person. Maybe what was that moment you like, you felt like I want to continue pursuing art, as a passion.
yeah, so from a young age, I've been experimenting with a lot of art, and that I feel is because I come from a family of artists. Like my uncle and my aunt and even my mother are all artists. So from a young age, my mother encouraged me to paint and experiment with all sorts of materials. So that's what made me get into art, and I never really stopped. So I just continued painting, and yeah, decided I wanted to study it in uni. So that's how I got into it. But now I feel like anything really inspires me. It could be an issue in the world, or just something I see when I go on a walk, or even a conversation I have with a person can inspire me to paint something. Yeah.
That's wonderful to know that you actually have a family that supports you and is also like artists themselves. So Heshanthi, now tell us what are the like what is the necessities you need when you're producing your art? Like it can be like maybe the mediums, it can be like maybe you're having some time to yourself. So like what is it that you need when you're producing your art?
Yeah, so it really depends on the type of artwork that I'm producing. So if it's like a print, I need the necessary machines and also the necessary technical tools. For printmaking, I probably need all that. But if I'm doing like a painting, I'd say that I need acrylic paints, obviously, or any kind of paint really. But I'm open to working on any surface, like it could be cardboard or it could be a canvas, since I do experiment with different materials. And I also can use my hands or a palette knife. I don't try to limit myself to only using like a paintbrush. So yeah, I'm quite open to using any type of materials to paint with, but I'd say that I just need my acrylic paints, yeah.
And I also wanted to know, do you have to be in any specific state of mind? Like, do you need any music, or do you just want to be like having some peace and quiet? Like, what is it? Do you like, you tell me, like, what type of state of mind do you have to be when you're producing your art?
Yeah, so when I'm working on my pieces, I feel like I really like having my own space. So that's something I really need. And I also like playing music in the background, or if I'm addicted to some show, I'd really just put that on and watch it while painting. So that's about it. Like, my own space is probably the most important thing to me.
And now, Heshanthi, I want to know, like, in terms of like money. So I know you're a student. So do you what do you do part time? Do you do anything part time to get money in terms of art?
Yes, so I currently am working part time as a art teacher. So I teach art at like a paint and sip studio in Sydney, and I also do commissions in my free time. So it could be like digital commissions or a real painting on canvas. It depends on what the person wants. So
It must be tough, like trying to manage both like student life and the commissions and the private work as well, right?
yeah, it does get a bit tough, but you have to prioritize what's important.
So how has now the pandemic has it affected you in any way, the pandemic, in terms of your work and your art?
Yeah, so we are in lockdown right now, but COVID hasn't been too bad in Australia. But last year, when we did have lockdown, I had to do a lot of my classes online. So my classes like painting or studio classes, where I had to really do artworks and show them through a computer screen, it was quite challenging because I feel like the art will look so different in person compared to real life. So that would be one challenge that I had to face because of COVID. And also personally, like not being able to go back home and seeing like my family and friends has been quite hard, and not knowing when I can go back as well has been hard. Yeah,
Definitely, and I hopefully this situation eases down and things get better. And now I wanted to ask, like, for those who don't understand those who don't understand art in general, what would you like to say to them, you know?
yeah. Well, everyone has a kind of style that they are more inclined towards. So personally, like when I do art, I feel like I paint for myself more than paint something that I feel like other people might like, unless it's a commission, of course. But so there'll always be people who don't really understand your art. But I think art is about making your own judgment. So there's no right or wrong in doing that. So I encourage people to, make their own interpretations and judgments of of artworks. Yeah.
Now, Heshanthi, I wanted to ask, how did social media help you? Because I know definitely it might have helped you, because I see with your posts and all, you're very like active. So I want to know like your perspective. How did social media help you as an artist?
Yeah. So I actually started my Instagram account a while ago, like in 2016, I think. And I wasn't very consistent back then. But when I came to uni, I was doing so many projects. So I decided to just put my artwork out there. And I really started last year when lockdown happened. So I think I had more time because of that. So since then, I've tried my best to be consistent, because I'm always doing artworks and experiments for uni. So just by posting regularly, I feel like that has really helped me connect with like different people from like all around the world, basically, like that I wouldn't be able to do without social media. So it's been a great tool for me to like kind of get my art out there.
Definitely. So what I understood is you always try your best to be consistent. That's one of your main tips in terms of social media. So Heshanthi, did you ever want to give up on art?
So I don't think I wanted to give up on making my own art, but when I came to uni, I was in a new country and I was kind of overwhelmed. So I did think about not studying art as a degree. So I did think of giving up art then, but I'm so glad I didn't go ahead with that decision because I feel like I've learned a lot in these past few years of studying art at uni.
And what's one of the worst things you heard as an artist? Like anything that might have just annoyed you, like, you know?
Well, a common thing that I hear is when people ask me what I'm doing or what I'm studying, and I say fine art. A lot of people say, "Oh, you should like do that as a hobby or do that as something on the side," which I get where they're coming from, but it's always discouraging when you tell people that that's what you're studying and that's what they say. So it's like it seems like it's not a good enough career choice for them. So I guess that's the worst thing I've heard so far.
So Heshanthi, we're now coming to the end of this interview. Any advice you would like to give to those who are watching, like those upcoming artists or artists in general?
So some advice that I've received and I keep in my mind is that as long as you do something you love and are dedicated towards it, you'll always find a way to succeed. So don't get discouraged by negative comments or what people have to say, and just keep at it and just keep posting, be consistent with your work because it will always pay off at the end.
Thank you, Heshanthi, for the wonderful advice. And it was a pleasure having you on this show, and we wish you the best of luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me.